A little over a week ago, we had a huge update to the honey scandal. For those who don't know, this channel Megalag here dropped a huge video last year exposing the honey influencer scam. And then recently, like 8 days ago, they had a part 2 come out. Part 1 of the honey scandal was focusing on how they were stealing money from content creators and people that had affiliate links. And part 2, which I made a video on, here's a link to that. But this part 2 was essentially focused on exposing how much harm they were causing to the businesses that they were working with or that they weren't working with. And on top of that, Megalag focused on how honey was using your data, even though they swore they weren't, and swore up and down that they weren't selling it, which they inevitably sold it to PayPal. Well, just a few short hours ago, a part 3 has come out, or as he's calling it, a part 2.5. Apparently there's more coming. The honey files expose major fraud. Now, this is a huge video, not just with what is contained within it, but also the length. It's like 43 minutes. So similar to his part 2, I'm just going to break down some of the major points, include a few clips, but I highly recommend you go and watch the entire thing. If you have the time to watch his full video, I highly recommend it. I'm just making this video for people who don't have that much time and still want to be caught up. But with all that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, but with all of that out of the way, let's get started. Now, the core argument for this third video that was actually alluded to previously has to do with stand down policy. Essentially, it's a big deal policy with affiliate marketing that if someone clicks on an affiliated link, let's say I have a link to go purchase something off of Amazon or Newegg, which is an example that he uses. If you have a coupon service like Honey set up and they recognize that you have jumped over onto this website using an affiliate link, they are supposed to stand down, meaning they aren't supposed to replace that affiliate link that you're getting from, let's say me or Markiplier or someone else and replace it with their own. That's a big no-no. Well, his core argument is that Honey was choosing to ignore the stand down policy, but more than that, they deliberately engineered a system to make sure they could do this and fly under the radar. That's a pretty hefty accusation. He actually compares it to Dieselgate, which I had never heard it called Dieselgate, but this has to do with Volkswagen back in 2016. 2016, by the way, almost a decade ago. You're welcome.
It's very reminiscent of the Dieselgate scandal, where Volkswagen quietly programmed their vehicles to only lower emissions during regulatory testing. Volkswagen executives went to jail for that.
So I wasn't familiar with this either, but yeah, this is back from, well, it began in 2015, but I believe they ended up getting held accountable in 2016. But they found that Volkswagen had intentionally programmed turbocharged direct injection diesel engines to activate their emission controls only during lab testing. And he brings up that example because it's like tit for tat exactly what he believes and showcases Honey doing. Now, I'm going to cover that more, but I want to focus on everything that he covers in sequential order with his video so it kind of matches up. The next thing that he points out is that he had a conversation with the former CEO of it, a guy named Ryan, and Ryan here was kind of threatening Megalag with a lawsuit. You can see here, what is your full name and mailing address to send certified mail? But interestingly enough, instead of actually suing him, he created a Reddit Ask Me Anything to talk about disproving the points made in the video. Keep in mind, this was in lieu of the original first video that had come out in this investigation. This may be a little out of pocket for me, so forgive me, but I think if instead of following through on a lawsuit because you believe you've been defamed in some egregious way, you hop onto Reddit and do an Ask Me Anything, for me personally, that kind of impacts the perception of trustworthiness I think I have with you actually believing that you've been defamed. It feels more like PR and damage control, but that might just be me and I could be a complete dum-dum. Next major / interesting thing that I saw him bring up is that Honey was advertising that they had millions and millions and millions of coupon codes, and they had less than 100,000, and more than 10% of them were expired.
How many coupon codes did Honey claim to have again?
Automatically comparing millions of promo codes.
Ah, right, millions. But how many coupon codes do they really have? At the time this data was collected, Honey only had 85,000 coupon codes, 12,000 of which were expired.
The more important thing, outside of the false advertising that he finds out, is that Honey was clearly aware of these codes being expired, as you just saw in the sheet before here, like showing the expiration date right here. But even with that knowledge, they would lie about these codes being expired. As you see here, you can see 8 coupons found. But in the background, Megalag checked and saw that all of the 8 coupons are expired. So why is it showing 8 coupons found? And usually when you do this and there are legitimate coupons ready, it'll will show you the coupons they're testing. Here he hits apply coupons and you can take a look, and they've censored the different coupons because they've expired. Following up after this, he gets into where Honey was getting all of their coupon codes. Obviously, there were brand shared coupon codes, followed by they apparently, as also claimed by one of the former CEOs, had an employee team that was like running through and looking for codes everywhere. They also were able to find that they were scraping coupon codes off of their competitors' websites, but the vast majority of coupons were coming from customers. They were coming from you and I.
We can get a pretty clear picture, and this is interesting. 27,000 coupons were intentionally shared by brands themselves through affiliate networks. 23,000 coupons appear to have been manually added by Honey's employees, 9,000 of which are Honey branded codes like Honey 5 or Honey 10. And the rest, well, the remaining 34,000, representing the largest portion of Honey's coupons, were sourced from users.
Now this obviously goes against them saying that they were scouring and scanning the entire internet for millions of codes, but it is admittedly pretty damn smart plan. If you can just force the people using your product to do the job for you, well, you don't need to hire a bunch of employees to do it. I almost feel like most of those employee generated coupons that he mentions were probably all just done at the beginning of Honey's lifespan, and once they got big enough that people started using it more, they didn't need to anymore. But that third aspect of them using coupon codes as given through their partnership with these brands, well, that's kind of what leads into the next point that he makes. TLDR, he goes into a much more in-depth description, but usually when you're working with these brands, you have like an affiliate network, and this network is kind of who communicates with you and how you get the coupon codes from the brand. And most of these brands had a clause in regard to these coupon codes, and that specifically stated that with their partnership, the only coupon codes Honey was allowed to use was ones that were sent to them through this affiliate network. And instead of just obeying that clause and recognizing it for what it is, they would test the boundaries. They would see how far they could get away with not following this rule and just using any coupon codes until it was enforced. Essentially, the asking for forgiveness after you've done it.
We can even prove that Honey was well aware of these rules. If we go back to the monetization notes, you can see several examples where Honey noted certain brands as having a coupon clause. And this is where it gets even worse for Honey, because they also documented ignoring these clauses. Take a look at these notes. Terms have the coupon clause. No data on enforcement yet. The terms have the coupon clause. We just added them, so unsure if this is enforced yet. Or how about this note on the Lid chocolate store? Has non-affiliate coupon clause, but don't have any codes from network, so can't remove other coupon sources. Based on these notes, it appears that Honey would join a brand's affiliate program, noted their coupon policies, but would intentionally disregard them for as long as they could get away with it.
In the available database for Honey, they have those messages. He didn't have to do like a crazy huge deep dive to get this information. But now this is where he circles back to that main point about this stand down policy. For the sake of just making what that policy means very clear and how that's a big deal for them to be ignoring it, I'm just going to include this blurb of him explaining stand down policy from his video.
This behavior is in most cases strictly not allowed. You see, the companies that run this industry, the affiliate networks, know full well that coupon extensions like Honey have a high probability of poaching commissions from influencers, bloggers, and other content-driven affiliates. More importantly, they also understand that this is not fair, especially under the last click wins policy, which has remained an industry standard. So to prevent this type of commission theft, most major affiliate networks enforce what's known as a stand down policy.
So this stand down policy is essentially to prevent affiliate coupon code theft. Like they don't want to be taking it from somebody else who, was the intended recipient of this affiliate like commission. Well, he does some testing with Honey and he notices that in some instances that ends up working. When Honey detects this issue, they'll show this. Oops, Honey is disabled on this site. This can happen if you interact with another coupon or rewards program. But like I said, this wasn't always working. And so he was kind of figuring out the differences. He uses this example here. He shows that he has two different Honey accounts that he's logged into. One of them here has 0 cashback points. It's also a fresh account. This one is 10,000 and is like 8 months old, I believe. The brand new one, you'll see that the alert comes up when he clicks on it that Honey can't work. It's disabled on the website. But on the one with the 10K points, it immediately is talking about get this cashback, all this stuff. And he's used an affiliate link on both of them. To figure out what's going on here, Megalag kind of parsed through the data of the code for Honey. And what he figured out is that Honey was selectively standing down based on who they thought was using Honey here. Similar to Dieselgate, Honey will block itself and do the stand down policy only if they think that there's a risk that the person that is looking at the screen that is using Honey knows about the stand down policy or is a tester. The first weird thing about it that he shows is this 3600 that is showing that if you remain on a store page for longer than an hour, that's this 3600 is seconds, so 3600 seconds being 1 hour. If you go past that 1 hour, they stop caring about this stand down thing and start, overriding. Now, he ends up using the Wayback Machine and finds this same code set to 360 seconds, which is 6 minutes. You can imagine having this malleable, like he says, at any time is insane, especially when it's like a policy that no one is expecting to be changing on the fly. I would love to hear an explanation for why they have a system like this in place that makes sense, because it doesn't right now. Here are those main metrics that Honey checks for before they either comply or don't comply to the stand down policy. They check to see if you're just logged into Honey. If you're not logged in, it's not going to listen. If your account is 30 or more days old, if you have more than 500 cashback points. And you can see what Megalag is alluding to here, that if you don't follow these, you may be a compliance tester, which means Honey is going to follow compliance if they suspect that it might be a compliance tester. He also sees down there, you can see disclaimer, historic SSD rules shown. This is talking about that selective standing down. And he does demonstrate and show the rules being different later on. I don't need to show you the different standards now, but effectively they are testing for very similar stuff. And furthermore, it's not changing it in such a way that makes you think that they're looking for something else. But these checks that Honey does gets a bit more invasive. They check your email. They're looking for patterns in your email, like let's just say it's like tester@whatever.com. They're looking for things like that. And they also analyze the cookies on your computer. Before I show you the cookie thing that he brings up, I do just want to show you guys, this is what it looks like. He actually rewrote it to make it more understandable, but he does end up showing it exactly how it does look in its own code later on. But these different ones, you can see the L is login, so like 1 for being logged in, 0 for not. This one is age, and that's actually the age of 30 days for the account, but in milliseconds, he says for some reason. P is standing for points, that's the 500 cashback points, you need 501. He also later shows proof of, Honey detecting these different parameters and then failing or approving this SSD protocol being like the, selective standing down, and it shows which ones you failed. So for instance, for this one, the website specifically, you needed 20,000 points at least, and he failed that, and that's why they complied to stand down. So these last parameters that Honey is looking for to gauge, yes or no, and if we're being quite honest, the damning evidence when it comes down to making an allegation like this has to do with this last bit about these cookies. According to Megalag, he was signing into one of these affiliate websites, as he normally was, as he's testing this new thing he's making called a cookie inspector that shows you the cookies that are put onto your computer when you're accessing different websites. And you can see this one specifically was recognized by him as also being a part of the Honey code. And here it is showing up in the Honey code. This is one of the checks that it was running, seeing if you had these cookies from those websites, including some of their competitors and these other affiliate websites, and using that to decide whether or not they were going to do the stand down stuff. And if you had this cookie on your computer, go figure, they would follow compliance. Now, it's one thing for Megalag to come to these conclusions on his own based off this data. I mean, he presents a very good argument, or at least a very persuasive argument for the points that he's making about what Honey's doing, and arguing that it seems like they are trying to intentionally deceive people. Well, he brings in a professional of the field, a man with 4 Harvard degrees. For the clips here, I'm going to show you guys Megalag introducing this gentleman, as well as the conversation that he included from a bit of an interview with the guy.
It only felt fitting that I consult with a real expert. So I reached out to Ben Edelman, a respected security researcher known for exposing major online ad fraud, deceptive software, and anti-competitive practices at large tech firms. Ben has 4 Harvard degrees, he's a lawyer, a software engineer, and a former Harvard Business School professor. But what makes Ben truly unique is that he has a deep, decades-long understanding of the affiliate industry, which is rare. So I really couldn't have asked for a better person to independently verify my findings. And thankfully, Ben agreed.
How would you characterize the purpose of the system that Honey implemented into their browser extension?
Your findings are on target. Honey stands down, but only sometimes. And the sometimes is predictable. It's a little different from anything I've ever seen in my whole career testing this stuff, frankly, because of the nature of when they stand down and when they don't. They're not doing it randomly. They're not picking a number out of a hat. They're doing it based on articulable factors that we can see in the code, we can see in the packet log, and we can even infer their intent based on what we see there.
You would agree that this system is fraudulent in nature, specifically that the system was intended to defraud other affiliates and also hide that behavior from compliance testers and others within the affiliate industry.
Well, lawyers have a special view of the word fraud. I'm not sure I'm going to call it fraud myself, but it certainly is intended to conceal. They're attempting to stand down as little as possible while avoiding getting caught. Those objectives are intention, of course. The more you don't stand down, the more you're likely to get caught for not standing down. So they're trying to figure out in what circumstances can they avoid standing down and not face a material risk of being caught.
He's now going to ask the dude what he thinks the implications of this information is now that it's going live on YouTube. And I find this particularly interesting because that goes in line with, are people going to get arrested? Is there going to be like justice for this in a sense?
I was curious whether he thought this could also lead to criminal charges.
Criminal charges for corporate misconduct are pretty unusual in the United States. Not unprecedented. Volkswagen is an obvious example, and there are plenty of other corporations that have ended up in criminal litigation. I wouldn't expect that. I'd expect civil litigation. But if I were in charge, yeah, this kind of misconduct where you intentionally falsify the results that professional testers get in order to advance your business benefits looks like a violation of, I don't know, it's wire fraud, right? And misrepresentation over the wires. Honey would say, well, we didn't misrepresent anything. The wires correctly represented what actually happened. We changed our behavior depending on what was happening. That didn't misrepresent it over the wires. I don't know. They misrepresented that funds were payable to them when in fact funds were payable to other people or maybe not at all. So I'd charge it on a wire fraud statute, but I don't hold my breath about that.
Now he says there's tangible ways that this could go. He also mentions that civil litigation would make a lot of sense in a situation like this. But as you heard him say, he's not holding his breath when it comes down to it. I will not be surprised when I start hearing information about class action lawsuits and everything else coming up again, similar to how there were class action lawsuits and everything sprouting up after his first video on Honey. But that is the shortened Reader's Digest version of his video. If you appreciate the time saved, please be sure to give this video a like. If you're new here, consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel trying to hit that 100K. But as always, thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you later. Adios. Peace. Bye.